And we are back. This is Dr. Brenda Miller and welcome, Chambliss, and thank you and welcome for joining a special edition of Good Morning Putnam County. Good Morning Putnam County, where we are reaching local, regional, national. Because of internet and technology, the world is our platform. We're talking about a subject on today that, especially in what we've seen on the news, what we're facing every day when we go on our tablets, our iPads, or television, we are bombarded by what's happening in the news, especially as it relates to murder and suicide. And we just experienced this weekend what happened in Maine. I'm still questioning how something like that happened. Our special guest today from SMA, Nancy Russo and Sandra Jackson. Ladies, welcome to Good Morning Putnam County.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, definitely. We were talking there, and like I said, I want us to just have interaction and talk. Before we talk about SMA and suicide and murder suicide, I'd like you to introduce yourselves to our audience. Just talk to our audience about who you are and what you do.
You want to go first?
Okay. Well, I am Sandra Jackson, and I work at SMA Healthcare and have been working there for about 11 years, but have really been working in community behavioral health for about 25 years.
Wow.
Currently, it's our core responsibility to make sure that programs are running in both St. Johns counties and Putnam counties, and we kind of just oversee the outpatient programs and all kinds of new programs, and especially in Putnam County where it's rural. So we do get some additional programs because of that. Um, I've worked with all age groups in my own history, from children, adolescents, adults, mental health, and substance use. I've worked in school settings. I've also worked in juvenile detention settings and am actually a licensed mental health counselor in the state of Florida, although now primarily my focus every day is more on the administrative side and just helping our staff be able to carry out their day-to-day operations, and really importantly, networking with other community organizations, because there's a lot to be done and we all have to pool our resources, and partnerships are key.
Definitely, definitely. Nancy, tell us about you.
Yes, my name is Nancy Russo. I am also a licensed mental health counselor. I have been with SMA Healthcare for 7 years, but I'm a little bit older than Sandy, so I've been doing this for about 29, 30 years in all types of settings. My first experience was at a Baker Act receiving facility where, you really saw mental illness at its, worst, where people would come in psychotic or suicidal. And that was definitely a great job for my first experience in mental health, because it gave me the foundation that I needed to move on and be able to understand mental illness better and be able to help serve the people better. I've also worked in different settings such as the school system, residential programs, group homes, outpatient clinics, and now, as Sandy is, I'm also in more of an administrative role with SMA, and I feel this is a good place for me because I like to make sure that the county is getting what they need, and bringing new programs and new services to the county is one of my priorities.
And I'm glad you're emphasizing the county. Um, a little about myself and why we're doing what we're doing. Our son Tyler was murdered. Um, he was murdered 3 years ago. You see the nervous twitching. This is like I promised myself that I'm going to get through this. um, my son was murdered 3 years ago, and that murder is yet unsolved. Coming up, and we'll talk about that later, is his birthday is November 24th. And y'all need to stay tuned to the broadcast, because closer to the end, we're going to be talking about something that we're going to be focusing on the entire month of November, and that is surviving the holidays. Listen, I'm going to go over to a spot about SMA, and then we're going to come back and talk a little more. This is Dr. Brenda. You're watching Good Morning Putnam County. And we are back. We're here with Nancy Russo and Sandra Jackson from SMA. You just saw that spot that gave more information about that. As I had said in the last clip, and those from that watch Good Morning Putnam County know, our son Tyler was murdered July 17th, 2020, yet unsolved. And that caused us to give up our beautiful home and move back to Putnam County. We'd been up in the Great Smoky Mountains. If you've not been in the Great Smoky Mountains, you would love it. We were in Murphy, North Carolina, and then on the Cherokee Nation on the resident, home of the Cherokee, North Carolina is home of the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians, and that's where we did ministry at and there. And after he was murdered, we moved back home, and COVID was going on, and then we just needed that, sit down time. And then, so when we started the ministry back to go back live and in person, we were trying to find the right location, and we ended up in Interlochen, feeling that West Putnam and East Alachua counties were the right place, because it was not a lot going on out there as period. And in the midst of doing that, I realized that this is where Tyler was from. He went to Interlochen Elementary, Interlochen Price Middle School, and Interlochen High. And a lot of the foundational issues and problems that started in Interlochen. And we watch on the news, and when someone is shot or murdered or suicide, we have all the camera people all over. And then after that dies down, and you go to the next one. But what you don't hear about is, how can we prevent it? And so what dropped in my heart was, if I could help one parent, one caregiver, one teacher that had that student not to have to go through suffering the loss that they do, how can I help them make positive choices and be proactive? And choices was birth. And so we service the West Putnam, East Alachua County with choices. Mentoring, it's a faith-based mentor group for at-risk youth ages 6 to 17. When you said about services and things that are available, I'm in Putnam County. I'm saying it loud and clear. I have had the hardest time since we've been here. This broadcast is new, but I launched it 2 years ago. But I have had so many problems trying to make contact and find who can we network with. I've got people out here that need things. Where do they go? What do they do? And when I interviewed my daughter Teresia, she came up with numbers that I didn't know to find agencies and things. And that's what we want to do, to be able to help and provide those services. But I want to piggyback on what you said about rural, and especially with our age group is 6 to 17 for choices, but you've got all ages that are watching and doing. When you face and deal with rural counties, especially, how do you handle those people that have a stigma attached to mental health and mental health services?
It's difficult. Stigma is something we've been trying to overcome for years. And one of the steps that we're taking to help with that is we are partnering with CCA, which is a coalition alliance, and they're going to be bringing a prevention coalition to Putnam County. And that one of their focuses will be with helping with breaking the stigma, because there are so many people that have a behavioral health issue, whether it's mental health or substance use, and they don't realize that it's okay. And there's a lot of people out there just like them that need help, come for help, people that they would never even assume, people in county commission seats or,
Love it.
doctors everywhere. Um, what we need to do is have those people that have the illnesses speak up and say, I have it, I've overcome, I'm getting better, and you can too.
Wow. Sandy.
It's almost like still feels like a taboo subject to talk about your mental health issues, even in my own family. This is what I do for a living. And still, when topics like that come up, people kind of whisper. And it's okay to talk about diabetes or asthma. And I try to say to people, you aren't embarrassed to mention that you have diabetes or high blood pressure and take all these medications. But for some reason, when it comes to somebody who might not be feeling good emotionally, we don't freely talk about it. We don't freely talk about medications. And sometimes people are just uncomfortable around others that are having a bad day. If you see someone walking down the road and maybe they're talking to themselves, or you even just see someone sitting there crying, not everyone's comfortable going up and opening that conversation. And I know Nancy and I, being in this field, we have to have a lot of those uncomfortable conversations with people. Even after we just met them a few minutes, we're asking them personal questions. And it's very obvious to me in my personal life. I meet people, we're at lunch, and I'm just talking about everything. And they're all sitting really stiff looking at me. And I'm like, oh, I forget people aren't comfortable with this. So it's really important that we teach and we talk to everyone about being comfortable and just normalizing the conversation. People normalize sciatica. Well, let's normalize anxiety. It's just something we live with, and it's chronic sometimes. It doesn't go away. So it's like living with this thing that you have to maintain and be aware of all the time. And we just have to start to normalize it and make people know it's okay to have it and to discuss it. And honestly, you're going to feel better probably if you can just get it out there and talk to someone about it and not hold it in and feel like you're the only one and that you're all alone.
I was thinking as you were saying that, and one of the things I wanted to ask, I was going to ask it later, but it fits in now. Um, when you were talking about situation and stigmas and things like that, we got clips and segments that we're going to air in this broadcast, what you're on, that deals with African Americans and says that, Black people don't commit suicide, you know, and that's far from truth. There was a movie series called Soul Food. I don't know if you ever saw Soul Food. And so in the movie Soul Food, there was the elder of the family, and they called him Uncle Pete. They never said he had special issues, that he was mental, psychotic, had mental issues. Uncle Pete just stayed in the room in a row, and black folk, we just pushed him a plate. And in our African American community, everybody got an Uncle Pete. We know him. We didn't talk about him. He was just like, he was the women were special and the uncles were different. We actually, in my own family, we oh, my sister's gonna get me. We had an Uncle Skeet, and his wife left him, and he lost it. And her name was Mayella, and she left him and went up north. Well, being from the area they were in Georgia, the clarity of the word didn't come across. So when they told him, Skeet, Mayella gone, she gone up north. Well, in his mind, he heard that Mayella was gone in the loft. So he would go through the house with the broom, banging on the ceiling, Mayella, you better come out that loft. Nobody thought anything about it. Nobody paid attention, but you didn't discuss it because that don't happen. And in the African American community, anybody watching me that's African American of any age knows that what happens in this house stays in this house. We don't tell nobody about nothing. And that's the point I wanted to get to, because I was going to ask this question. This is my definition of a person dealing with mental illness: rich, poor, black, white, Latino, brown, young, saint, sinner, people in ministry. We're talking about, I've had, even in Ocala and other areas around, and even internationally and nationally, pastors who've walked out of the pulpit ministering to their congregation, went into their offices, locked the door, and blew their brains out. And the congregation, nobody wants to talk about it. When you're dealing with issues like that, how do you guys handle the stigmas? And I can talk about African American because in case somebody didn't pick it up, I am black, so I'm qualified to talk about it that way. But if in certain other communities, I know, Latinos, Hispanic, everybody, we've got this strong family and image. But what do you do when nobody wants to deal with it?
I was born and raised in New Orleans, 77 years old. People like me and my age that are strong know that, hey, there's nothing new under the sun. What is, was, will be again. You understand?
Well, I know one that won't. Ain't nothing that serious for me to take me. It ain't happening.
Black folk don't commit suicide.
It seems somehow a corollary of black folk aren't serial killers, black folk don't do therapy, black folk don't get depressed, right? Which seems to just go to that idea of like, we don't lose our minds and flip out.
Black folk don't commit suicide. I was just talking about this. I actually have a personal experience in my family. One of my very close family members, when I was a teenager, had a suicide attempt. The person overdosed on pills. We all went to the hospital. It was very traumatic. It was horrible. And then we came home and we never mentioned it ever again. To this day, never mentioned it, never talked about it. Never got counseling.
You don't see it happen as much. So I can agree and disagree. I mean, obviously we had a famous suicide. Don Cornelius was dealing with a lot of health issues.
Everyone loved him, and you grew up watching him on TV dancing and just saying, that is one of our people doing really well, doing great things for the community. And so recently when he committed suicide, it was a huge shock.
Everyone was like, I thought black people didn't kill themselves.
I think the biggest reaction is that, when you're feeling that sad, you're supposed to go to the church, you go to tell somebody. You never actually do it yourself because God told you not to do it. But there was an understanding of, wow, it must have been bad. It must have been really bad for a black person to take their own life.
They said my first cousin suicide, but nobody that's seen him when he did it.
I know some black people who committed suicide. It was a girl. She got ridiculed in school because she was smart, basically. And I guess she just couldn't handle it, so she took her own life.
I put it this way. Black folks who've been to the service, they likely do suicide. Come back home and the government do what? They step on you. And they kind of fall off, and that's what would happen.
Well, here lately, we are committing suicide more than we used to years ago. There's so much of, I say it like this, we always were under stress, but now it's a different type of stress. When Katrina hit in '05, so it uprooted us.
When you look at the suicide rates, it is white men followed by black men, followed by white women, followed by the trend line for black women is so low that you could easily miss them on the chart. Like it's extraordinarily low. One way to read it, and I'm not sure if it's true, but one way is that black women are literally so committed to being the mule of the world. Like there's such a requirement for us to stay and be present for everybody else. And it feels to me like part of the kind of overtly self-sacrificial ways in which black women behave.
There's so many other ways that black people kill themselves.
It's maybe not something as simple as sitting in a room and putting a gun to their head, but when you drink yourself.
Hello, I'm Colonel Joseph Wells, the Chief Deputy at the Putnam County Sheriff's Office. The most important aspect, in my opinion, of the services that SMA Healthcare provides is dealing with folks in mental health crisis. Obviously, in the law enforcement field, that is one of the things that we are forced to deal with day in and day out, and certainly the thing that presents the biggest challenges for us, both in the law enforcement and corrections field. So all of the mental health services that we're able to provide in cooperation with SMA certainly do a lot to reduce recidivism and repeat offenders, and certainly does a lot to help us service those families that have folks in mental health crisis.
Well, I think as long as you're a human being, you're susceptible. If you have a brain and you have a body, you can be struck with any kind of disorder that anybody else can. We do come into contact with a lot of those stigmas that are sometimes based on whether it's someone's ethnicity or their culture is different. And I don't really have an answer on that. There's one easy way and we always do it and it works because we still struggle. We train ourselves and anyone that we work with. It's a continual education on being aware of different cultures and being aware of different ethnicities and how they handle things. So the first thing we do have to do is understand that that's a thing. It's out there. If you go into this field and think that everybody's going to understand things the same way and process things the same way, you're just not going to be very effective. So one of the things we have to understand is that, sometimes people say something and it's the way they handle things based on maybe their religion, or their culture. There are certain sexes that maybe are subservient. There are rules within the cultures. And just like you mentioned earlier, the African American, what stays in this house, what happens in this house stays in this house. And so sometimes those cycles are what lead also to the continuing as we go. Our children grow up and they see what we're doing and they're going to do it because it's normal and it's comfortable. So one of the first things we try to do is just be aware that when you're speaking with someone and if they're talking about, I don't know, like something that's part of their culture, some sort of belief, you have to be careful that you're being kind of understanding that might just be different than you and not to judge. And then to find a way to meet them wherever they are in a way that makes them comfortable. You can build rapport, and then sometimes you can get in the door that way. But there are pockets of our population that really we have services and they just don't want to touch it. They don't want anything to do with it. which is just so frustrating because you know there's so much help that's needed.
Well, Nancy.
Yeah, I mean, when Sandy's talking about education, I think that's the key. I mean, the more we can get the message out there that, you know, there's help out there, this is normal. Millions of people suffer from mental illness, all levels and varieties of it. And just, you know, getting out there, doing the outreach and letting everybody know it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to get help. You're going to just a regular doctor, making sure the doctor is the one that says, hey, you know, are you having any issues with depression? Do you know that there's help for that? Just normalizing it in an everyday assessment that even our medical doctors would do. So it's just one of the other boxes we check, that we're making sure that this person is aware that, you know, we care. And if they have this issue, there is help for it.
And if you can get a champion from within that inner circle who already understands the population and understands what some of the barriers are, you know, if in networking and collaborating, we can get champions who, or even peers, people with the lived experience, which we're doing a lot of using peers now. But if you can get those champions, they're already lodged within that population group. And then they kind of speak the same language, and they can sometimes help, you know, bring those guys on board because there's a level of trust.
You know, we're going to take a break. We're going to go to another spot to get more information about SMA. I'm Dr. Brenda Miller Chambers. You're watching Good Morning Putnam County. We have special guests with us on today from SMA, Nancy Russo and Sandra Jackson. We'll be right back after this.
Welcome to the Residential Adolescent Program from SMA Healthcare. Better known as RAP, the Residential Adolescent Program serves youth from ages 13 to 17 who are struggling with a substance abuse issue. Upon entering the program, the adolescents are welcomed by the compassionate and caring SMA staff who will walk with them through every stage of their journey. The adolescents are provided individual and family counseling to begin treatment and support, with the goal of helping them become successful, happy, healthy, and contributing members of society. During their time in the program, the youth learn how to maintain healthy relationships with family and friends, and how to develop lifelong solutions to some of the issues they are facing. The campus has a vibrant atmosphere that helps the adolescents feel welcomed and provides a nurturing environment for the individuals to receive the healing that they need. There are also plenty of recreational services for the adolescents during their stay, including a 16-element rope course that is designed to teach teamwork, trust, and other coping skills. During their stay, education services are provided by Volusia County Schools, so they can continue their schooling while receiving treatment. The Residential Adolescent Program from SMA is a great service that offers hope and healing to adolescents and their families, and helps to establish lasting change in the midst of an ever-changing world. For more information about RAP, call 800-539-4228 or visit smahealthcare.org. SMA Healthcare, transforming lives through hope and healing.
Any information that you may need, feel free to follow up on the information that was supplied on the video clips that we're sharing from SMA and more. You guys are touching on some hot points and hot topics, and you know, I would consider myself a fairly visible person. I've been in media for over 40 years, internationally and nationally, in the Christian community. My own ad agency, published my first magazine in 1973, Brightside Magazine, started television and Bodybuilders Television Network. By denomination, myself and my husband are in the Church of God in Christ, the largest African American Pentecostal denomination in the world. Worked with over 8.5 million members. I've worked with the media department, all that, very visible, well known, and everything. And when my son was murdered, I was an inch away from going in a corner, crawling up in a fetal position with my face in a pillow and not moving. I learned words that I'd never said before. Coroner, blunt force trauma. It was horrible. You're talking about a saved, sanctified, Pentecostal, media educated person. I was losing it because I had never experienced that level of grief before. Tyler had been murdered for 4 months before I stopped saying my son was killed. My son was killed because I didn't know how to say murdered. I never had to deal with that, and tox report and all of these things, and medical examiner. I'm like, these are words. State attorneys on, well, I dealt with state attorneys because, I deal with the communities. I dealt with the state attorneys in different capacities. But in this area, this arena was hard for me. And both of my daughters, who are licensed mental health counselors, they said, "Mom, you got to get some help. We're going to get help, but you need help. Prayer alone will not get you through that." Now, a lot of people, I get in trouble when I say that. I say alone. And if that has worked for you, do it. But I couldn't hide behind the pain. I couldn't hide behind the grief. And that's what caused me to start the ministry step by step. Women Grief Ministry for victims of homicide and suicide survivors. They say there are 5 stages of grief. Okay, after I went through those 5, then what? And there are more. I mean, I'm on step 37. Okay, what do you do when you're right there? Because it was like there's an expectation, and people don't really. When people say, "How are you doing today?" They don't want to know. They really don't want to know, because when you're there and you start to tell them, they only, well, here she go talking about her son again. Here they go. But I had no shame, and I believe more of this. And we're going to have some more shows, and I'm going to say I'd love for you guys, because I want to have a group forum with people in different areas that are not embarrassed to say, I'm a lead politician and I've had some mental health issues and I have to see a counselor. I'm a pastor. I'm an educator. I'm a business person. Do you think that would help in some of the issues that y'all are facing?
I think it would. I think it would definitely impact stigma, because, you look around and you see people that appear to have it all together, but I'm not sure any of us have it all together. We all have issues that we deal with every day. Trauma is a real thing, and trauma is different for everybody. What is traumatizing to me may not be traumatizing to you, but that doesn't make it wrong. So, and you also mentioned about prayer. Yes, prayer is a good thing, but God gave us all wisdom, and therapists have been given the wisdom to help other people. We are his servants. So it's a great combination.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sandy.
Well, there is no one size fits all. So, like you said, prayer is helpful, but you can also reach out to your church. Sometimes church have recovery groups and support groups. Sometimes it's going to a counselor that's not involved with the church. So everyone's different, and just what works for somebody may not work for someone else. And I think it's really important to be very accepting of what people's wishes are, as long as they're getting help. That's what we want to do, is support. And as far as people coming forward and sharing, I think over the last several years, even with celebrities coming forward and sharing, whether it's a celebrity athlete or actor or actress, with people like that coming forward, which they have been an awful lot more the past few years, and sharing their own struggles. I think we still have a long way to go, but I think that that has definitely inched us a little bit further to being able to talk about this stuff and have it be okay.
Simone Biles opened up about her mental health post Olympics. She said, "I'm still scared to do gymnastics." You know, the spotlight is on you and all of that, and like you're saying, now more and more are coming forth uh, to talk about it. Another question I wanted to ask is, what signs are there signs, or what should a person look for or be aware of um, to know that a person is suicidal?
Well, sometimes there's usually some sign. That's not to say that we always know. There are people that can keep it to themselves, but there are signs that you can start to look for if you're either a friend or a family or a coworker. Things like when people start to leave their belongings maybe to others, and they would normally not do that. Or when they start to make comments about, I wish I wasn't here, or maybe next year I won't be here. Or when they start to even just discuss that they're not feeling good. They don't want to leave the house. Maybe someone who used to go to lunch and go to the movies, and suddenly they're not wanting to leave the house. And you know that that's not normal for them. And then just some of the physical things like weight loss, overeating, undereating, not sleeping. Those are, and crying, those are more obvious things. But the little nuances that people make, or giving away things that wouldn't normally happen for them, you have to pay attention to those instead of just brushing them off like, oh, they're just having a bad day.
Exactly. You know, recently in Tampa, let me pull this up, in Tampa, sheriff of 5-year-old twins were found dead after their mother jumps off a bridge. Seminole County. Officials say a woman was found dead after she reportedly jumped into Lake Jessup in Seminole County on Friday. Her 2 young twins were also found dead inside the house. When things come up like this, is there an interaction or something between agencies and people? Does that flare alert for conversation, or when you hear things like that, something like that happens and it's so close right here? How do y'all deal with that?
If it's local, if something happens local, we do discuss it. And we also, one of the first things we want to do is we want to reach out to anyone who was involved with them that might need support. Because when that happens, you know, it's a tragedy for those involved, but the people that are left behind are also struggling and suffering. And whether it's because they knew the people and they maybe feel like they failed them, or they're just mourning the loss, it could also be that they didn't know them, but it's awfully scary to think that that could happen to someone else. And then you might say to yourself, well, could that be me? Could that be someone I love? And so there's all kinds of feelings that happen when those sorts of things become public. So that's one of our first things that we want to do, is we want to discuss it, and we want to say, A, what can we do that this won't happen again? Is there a way to prevent this next time? And B, what can we do that we can support our community in this time when everybody's scratching their head and wondering and feeling certain feelings?
Yeah, and I think guilt goes along with that too, especially if you know somebody, you tend to feel guilty, like, why couldn't you pick up on something? Why didn't I see this? Why didn't I know? And, you know, sometimes it's you don't know it's going to happen because some people hide it. You know, there's really a difference between someone who wants help. They usually will talk about it and give those hints that there's something wrong and they just don't know how to go about getting help. But once somebody has literally made the decision to end their life, sometimes they don't say a word. You can tell looking back. It's more a retrospect. You look back and you're like, well, they were in a great mood. What happened? It's because they finally made that decision. And so now it's been a big relief off of them because they know that the pain that they're feeling is limited. It's going to be over soon. So, you don't always know because there is that all of a sudden lift in their mood and they're happy and you think things are going well and they're getting better. It's very tricky.
I've got to say, when I saw that on the news, and my daughter, who is one of the therapists, the one that's in Ocala, and she was like, "Mom, more and more of this is happening. You need to talk more, especially over in your area where you are." This is a young African American female. That was just, and I was like, really? That nobody could see this. This sister, she's a sister and young, and she got nobody could. I'm like, I was still grappling with. Nobody saw nothing, or did they? I think maybe one of you related to like blow it off. Nah, she'll be all right. Do you think sometimes we play it off, and sometimes people are crying out, and nah, you'll be all right. Go put your big girl panties on. You're gonna be all right. Just suck it up. But they're hurting. Do we do that because we take it lightly, or we just don't want to deal with it? Don't answer that. We're going to go away for some more information and another powerful video. I'm having a great time talking with Jacqueline. I'm sorry. I have no idea who Jacqueline is. With Sandra and Nancy. But when I talk to
the women's residential program is now open. We are a minimum of a 2-month program. The women throughout the day, we have a structure. They get up at a certain time. There's groups throughout the day, weekly individual therapy, medication management if needed. It just, it depends on what the client's needs are. Down the road, we are planning on phasing in children. We're just kind of looking at getting this program started. We're also collaborating with other daycares within the county that can kind of help coordinate to help us with the children, having support for the children while the mothers are in treatment and working and focusing on themselves. This is your life. People are dying out there. We will give you every opportunity to enhance on the person that you want to become. We can provide a safe and caring, loving atmosphere for you, and we just have a great staff, and we have people that really genuinely care about you.
Every day I face 1,000,000 different ways I gotta trust, but there's only one decision: how to live, how to love Jesus, because you are God and you're the God of my choices. Speak to me and I will run to your voice. Here I am in the noise, won't you lead me in my choices, my choices. I believe that faith is nothing if it isn't everything. Every heartbeat, every moment, whatever this day brings, this song I will sing. You are God and you're the God of my choices. Speak to me and I will run to your voice. Here I am in the noise, won't you lead me in my choices, my choices. You, Jesus, I am chasing after you, Jesus.
next program, Child Care Center Operations Program Manager, Maureen Stoll.
I messed around and lost my. Yeah, she has a good degree and she still says mess around. I'm from the South. I can do that. Okay, wait a minute. This is a shot. My questions. I was closing down the other things I were going to talk about after I did it. Okay, there it is. I had to reopen. Okay. I have no idea which ones Dr. Will is going to put up or what. And Nancy, I think you sent another, so we've got 3. Then we'll close off. Then we are getting ready to. I think we've done great. I want to talk about once again before we go off. I want to reflect on what services are available and what my sort of theme for November is surviving the holidays. How people are going to be getting through the holidays. Any tips you have, services, offers, we're going to go there as we get ready to wrap up. Is that good?
Mhm.
Okay. Now let me ask you a question off camera, which off camera is mean we just edit that out. If you did not know, and I told you, I guess it would be obvious, and I was talking about my son, this is I do 2 things that I've noticed that I've picked up when I get ready to talk about Tyler. I fidget here or my knee. This right knee, man, I tell you what, I could beat up bread and knead bread with that foot. I want to talk about how can I ask that for you guys to answer it, because I know people are doing that, and for them to discover, and if they don't have a therapist or somewhere, and they're noticing that when they talk about certain situations, would that be called a nervous tick or what? Or would you say that they should make aware of what? What would
I
you say?
well, I think it's like it's part of this that it's a stressful discussion or something that's really emotional for you, and our brain is very attached to our body. So that's why sometimes when you're anxious or nervous, you might get a headache or you might get a stomach ache or your neck muscles might get really tight because the brain and the body are connected. So if you're about to talk about something that in your brain is highly emotional or upsetting, you may see that you reflect that in your physical.
It's like a stress
things.
response, and then the behavior, the motions that you do are more of a like a calming or relax. It brings you back to normal,
like soothing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Well, we're already back, so I'm glad you guys answered that because it's relaxing that way. But 2 things before we go. I was in Walmart one day, and I have some knee issues, so I'll often use the scooter, and I'm fine, going around and looking for this, that, and the other. And somebody passed by me that had on a cologne that Tyler wore. I lost it. I'm crying uncontrollably, and one of the employees from Walmart came over, and then the manager came over, and they didn't know. Do you need? Is something wrong? And there was somebody shopping in the store. They said, "I know what they said. What you're experiencing is called a trigger. What did you hear? What happened before you were feeling like this?" And that person could have been a therapist for all I know to ask it like that. They were like, "What were you doing before this?" And it was, when they narrowed it down, it was the aftershave. Talk about triggers.
Well, the aftershave specifically triggered an olfactory memory. And so, the love that you have for your son and that memory was linked to that cologne. So when you smelled it, it brought you right back. And then your brain remembers he's not here.
Yes.
So, of course, you're going to have that type of a reaction. Any type of sense can trigger something. You can hear a song, you can hear a word, you can hear, somebody saying something that he may have said, and it's going to bring you right back to a time where he said that. So our senses are very in tune with our memory.
Wow. 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 Sandy, anything on that?
Well, Nancy mentioned earlier about trauma and how it affects everyone differently. And having lost a child, that's a traumatic event. And for you to smell the cologne that your son wore, that hit on your trauma. The same way that can happen, it happens to people in different situations. Like if you're in a car accident and someone dies in that car accident, you may then later be afraid to drive in cars, or you may be afraid to go over bridges if something happened on a bridge. But also to say, in therapy, sometimes we try to look at the reverse, because songs can trigger you for different memories. If there was a song maybe you used to sing to your son, just like smells can, but they can also be positive triggers as well. And so if you were a child and it was a wonderful time in your childhood when you played with Play-Doh, and now you open the can of Play-Doh and it smells good to you, that can be a positive memory. Or if you baked, with your grandma in the kitchen, and now when you're baking, that smell is kind of instilling in you that good feeling that you might have had. So yes, it can be negative and it's disturbing, and sometimes it creeps up on us when it is, but it's also can be turned around to positive, and we can insert those to make ourselves feel better. When we want to, if we know ourselves well enough to know what are the positive triggers, what helps me get through today. Maybe I need to go bake some cookies. Maybe I need to listen to some music that me and my grandma used to listen to. So it can work in both ways, because again, the brain is very much attached to your body. And so they're connected that way.
Wow. We're getting ready to enter at the time of this recording, because we do uh, on the Bodybuilders Television Network, we air live, we rebroadcast, and then we post on demand. So even though this is filmed live on a Monday when we broadcast, you may see it again on Wednesday or Friday, because we have the technology and capability, being full-time media ministers. We rebroadcast, and we actually rebroadcast in several different areas and time zones. So when we realize, like when we're going through our groups and social media sites, so we're airing this in London. We know they're 5 hours in front. We know that in California, they're 3 hours behind. So on our group pages where we air this, we do that. And people may say, well, but aren't you only talking to Palatka? No, we're based in Putnam County. But because we're on media, the world is at our fingertips on our devices. And you never know as how many people are traveling for business, planning on relocating, or getting ready for the holidays. I want to wrap up on today talking about surviving the holidays. This may be your first or 15th. Some people say, well, they've been gone 10 years. And, there's no time limit on that. Talk a little bit about that and pulling it in for this and other area services that can be available, that's here in Putnam and St. John, Putnam and St. Johns County. I don't know why I want to say Clay, but Putnam and St. Johns County, surviving the holidays. And if someone is at the point that they may be saying right now, Dr. Brenda, I know what you're saying, I'm watching this, but I can't do it. I cannot go through another Thanksgiving. I cannot go through another Christmas. We are going to post, as we always do, the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. So wherever you are, you can call. But can we talk a little bit about that?
I think one of the important things that we try to do when we're working with people is to discuss if that's going to be a stressful time for them. Because for some people, it really isn't as much, but for a lot of people, it really is. Either because they've lost someone or because they're just very lonely or they don't have the means to enjoy things. So, one of the things we try to do if we have someone that's working with us beforehand, we try to plan. We have no problem making lists when we go to the grocery store or planning what we're going to do on vacation. But do we really plan for how to get through a tough time when we have an idea that it's coming? Anniversaries of people's deaths, anniversaries even of anything that causes you grief, maybe the loss of a marriage, even, or a job. Anytime it's an anniversary or someone's birthday, we already know that that could be a challenge. So we do want to work with people and plan. What are your plans to get through the holidays? Where are you going to be? Where do you want to be? When you're feeling good, what does that look like for you? And what can you do to make sure you're in a safe place and a good place? So if you can plan and you know that that thing might be coming, that's one of the first things we like to do. It's kind of like a crisis plan. Just have it ready, hang it on your refrigerator, have it in your purse, whatever you need to do. So you know what to do. Is there someone that you want to call? Is there someone's house you want to go to? Those sorts of things. And then, of course, for the things you can't plan on, we are open for services throughout most of the holidays. We don't close. We also have emergency numbers. Like what you mentioned, having the hotlines available, it is really important to always have the different hotlines available. Even now, if everything was closed and it was Christmas Day, there's so many virtual sites where you can go and get support and get help. And we would want to try to help you before it turned into a situation where you're really in a crisis.
And with the incorporation of the 988, it makes it so much easier to remember three numbers to call for when you're in crisis. And when it comes to the holidays, we always want to think back and remember the good times. Like reminisce. It's okay to reminisce. It's okay to talk about the people that are no longer there that you love and miss and wish they were there. Just like a lot of the times when you attend a funeral or the reception afterwards, you hear people telling stories about the person who passed away, and people are smiling and they're laughing, and that's really what you want to try to focus on is the good. We can't make them come back no matter how much we want to, but we can remember all the joy that they brought to us.
Pastor Will, can you put that photo up? Keep talking. In my space, can you put Tyler up? Go ahead and talk.
There's no time limit either, I think, on our giving ourselves time to feel bad or to grieve. And I think a lot of times people think that there is. Like, okay, you go through the stages of grief and now you need to move on. Well, there isn't that. And for some traumas, I'm not sure that you really get over them. Speaking as a mother, I don't think you get over losing a child. It's just not a natural thing to go through. And so the best we can hope is that we survive and we have good days and we have bad days, but that we ride it. If you're in the ocean and you're caught in a tidal wave, they say not to fight it because you just get tired and then you go under, right? And it's kind of like that. It is. And so in life, it's like that. You're caught in this tidal wave of sadness and grief. If you fight it, you're just going to get exhausted. So sometimes you just have to feel those feels and just go with it and accept the good days as long as you accept the bad days too, because there's going to be both. And that's part of life. Life is for the living, but that doesn't mean that we don't feel sad and feel bad about things because we're human.
I love with what you were saying about writing a list, and maybe we can put together something like that we can have available on the website and on these broadcasts. Sort of that list, a planning ahead list. I'm like, I never thought about that. That's a good idea. Let's plan ahead and what we would do. November the 24th would be Tyler's 37th birthday. So I have to deal with Thanksgiving My birthday is on the 19th, which he was always the first one to call me for my birthday. I have 5 children, and they would all try to figure out who can call mom first. I don't care where he was or what, but at 12:01, Tyler would be calling everybody for their birthday. And I would feel, and if you're listening to this, I'm sharing personally because I want to be able to help someone. There were times I felt like if I could just go to sleep November 15th and wake up January 3rd, that I'd be good. Have you ever heard that before?
Mhm.
You want to bypass the whole thing, and some people are like, God, this isn't enjoyable. That's because you don't need it. But my mama used to say, keep on living. If you're not there yet, you'll come across some experience or something that would help us. We've had today as our very, very special guest, Sandra Jackson, Nancy Russo with CMA. Even though we're playing the video, we'll go out with one. Will you talk directly to the camera, zoom in on them for 1 second before we go, and give them a personal invitation of how you guys are there and what you can offer?
We want to be helpful in any way that we can. We have services for pretty much anyone. There's no situation that we won't be happy to talk through with you. We have counseling services for all ages. We have crisis hotlines for any time of day or night. And we also have medication management if it needs some medication in addition to counseling. And you can even come in and just walk in without an appointment and just say, I need to talk to someone. I'm not sure what I need. It's important for us that we're there for the community. We are here and we are right there trying to get through this with everybody. We're right alongside you.
Yeah, and our crisis line, 1-800-539-4228. That's our access center, and there is always someone there working and answering calls and can point you in the right direction. So just please call.
And you two work directly in Putnam and St. Johns County. Putnam and St. Johns County, correct? Now
Yes.
let me ask something that someone may ask or actually want to know. Is there a cost for the services? And if there are, how do they pay for it?
We take all types of insurance, and we also operate on a sliding scale. We are a safety net provider, which means if you can't afford to pay, we will still provide a way for you to be seen.
Okay, that is excellent. Go ahead, someone.
Well, there are some of our services as well that, as I mentioned earlier, are grant funded, especially because we are a rural community. And some of those services, there's not even a fee. We don't even try to go through insurance. It's just free. And like there's some services for certain populations, we even go to you. So if you don't have transportation, we'll go to you.
Wow, that's wow. Now that
Yeah.
I did not know, and that's good for the areas that we're working in, because not only do we work with the parents 6 to 17, and like I said, with choices of faith-based youth mentor program for at-risk youth. One of the things that we found out, if there's one person in the family that has committed suicide, you need to talk to other people. Okay. If that person, you need to talk to someone else. If someone in a home has committed a crime or has been affected by it, I'm running into issues in the area that we're covering, that one person was murdered, and now the other person that's remaining is feeling, I have nothing to offer. I have nothing, to deal with. So we've got all those things, and people just don't know the answer. But I'm so glad for the services that SMA provides. We're going to put that information on the screen when we go back and edit and put those in. And we are excited. Hey, this is Dr. Brenda Miller Chandler, special edition. And I keep saying special edition. All of our editions are special. But this has been Good Morning Putnam County. And coming up next, we've got more information of what's happening around your area. I'll be back after this. I can stop smiling.
The Women's Residential Program is now open. We are a minimum of a 2-month program. The women throughout the day, we have a structure. They get up at a certain time. There's groups throughout the day, weekly individual therapy, medication management if needed. It just, it depends on what the client's needs are. Down the road, we are planning on phasing in children. We're just kind of looking at getting this program started. We're also collaborating with other daycares within the county that can kind of help coordinate to help us with the children, having support for the children while the mothers are in treatment and working and focusing on themselves. This is your life. People are dying out there. We will give you every opportunity to enhance on the person that you want to become. We can provide a safe and caring, loving atmosphere for you, and we just have a great staff, and we have people that really genuinely care about you.
Step by step, I'm walking this road. Never thought I'd make it this far. When I think about the mercy you've shown me, I must confess you can use anything. Indeed, I'm walking step by step. If it had not been you by my side, when the enemy came in for my life, now I know he would have destroyed me, leaving me to die in my sin and shame. You never left my side. Now I know you walk before me. All my days I'm in your care. You've taken my hand and you will always lead me, Lord, to greener pastures wherever I go. Step by step, I'm walking this road. Never thought I'd make it this far. And when I think about the mercy you've shown me, I must confess you can use anything. Indeed, I'm walking step by step. Now I know you walk before me. All my days I'm in your care. Step by step, I'm walking this road. Never thought I'd make it this far. When I think about the mercy you've shown me, I must confess you can use anything. Indeed, I'm walking step by step. If it had not been you by my side when the enemy came in for my life, now I know he would have destroyed me, leaving me to die in my sin and shame. You never left my side. Now I know you walk before me. All my days I'm in your care. You've taken my hand and you will always lead me, Lord, to greener pastures wherever I go. Step by step, I'm walking this road. Never thought I'd make it this far. And when I think about the mercy you've shown me, I must confess you can use anything. Indeed, I'm walking step by step. Now I know you walk before me. All my days I'm in your care. You've taken my hand and you will always lead me, Lord, to greener pastures wherever I go. Walk with me, Jesus. Talk to me, Jesus. Walk with me, Jesus. Talk to me. Walk with me, Jesus.
Hello, I'm Colonel Joseph Wells, the Chief Deputy at the Putnam County Sheriff's Office. The most important aspect, in my opinion, of the services that SMA Healthcare provides is dealing with folks in mental health crisis. Obviously, in the law enforcement field, that is one of the things that we are forced to deal with day in and day out, and certainly the thing that presents the biggest challenges for us, both in the law enforcement and corrections field. So all of the mental health services that we're able to provide in cooperation with SMA certainly do a lot to reduce recidivism and repeat offenders, and certainly does a lot to help us service those families that have folks in mental health crisis.
No, I didn't. So we got, well, okay, 15 to 16. We don't have any 17 years old. He's at basketball practice. Okay. Now, adults, how many of them? Just kidding.
All right now. Watch it. I'm going to 25 a little bit.
It was so funny. Trish Murphy from the Black They Lose, she called and she said, Dr. Brenda, would you mind if I asked her age? I said, of course not.
I said, but I'm not going to tell you. If you ask, sure you can ask. Am I going to tell you? No. I said, now do you want my real age or my Facebook page? Because I'm still my Facebook age, because I'm still 48 on that one. So I've been there for a few years. I think I'm going to hang out there for a minute, just camp out at 48. Okay. You just camp out. It sounds good, feels good. So listen, ladies, look up. And do me a favor, because this is for you. Can everybody come up closer? You're too far back. Everybody come up a little closer. Step up some. Everybody step up some. Step up some and seat some. Everybody move up. There you go. And remember, we're talking about, especially ladies, being ladylike and acting like young ladies. Ladies act like ladies. You don't want to have a street mentality. You don't want to have a street appearance. Listen, and those of you that are here, those that may watch after the fact, you can act better than your surroundings. You can act better. You can do better. Do you believe that? Everybody say that. Even adults say, I can do better. I can do better. Come on, say, I can do better. I can do better. Listen, you're not the only ones. This is adults that need to do better. Amen. And their choices, and their relationships, and in their finances, and in their living circumstances, and the way that they dress. God in heaven knows. Just go to Walmart, and I'm just going to stop there. Stop right there. Oh, holy. Take a look. Holy. You know, they even have a video series called The People at Walmart. And I'm like, it's sad. It's sad. But actually, what was worse is on one of those series, I saw somebody from Putnam. And I was like, oh, Lord, we made that. We made the people at Walmart. Pajamas are for, let me just say this. Pajamas are for the house. Right, that's okay. Right. So we're bonnets. Oh. Okay. Bonnets. Ladies, young ladies, are y'all listening to me now? Some of you may not, this may be cultural, a lot, but bonnets, cultural, I'm saying, Negroes wear bonnets in the store. Y'all, I'm sorry, I'm gonna break it down. Y'all can't stay at the store with bedroom shoes on, pajamas and bonnets. Breaking it down. I'm sorry, sisters, y'all hurt my heart. You hurt my heart. You embarrass me, please. Ooh, don't do that. But you got a choice. So you got a choice. Get dressed. You got clothes. You got clothes. Put up some clothes. Amen. Put something on and go to the store. And there's a prophetic word. Y'all don't use it a lot of here, but it's called girdle. If stuff gonna be falling all over, if your stomach is Dunlap, if you got Dunlap, oh have mercy, Lord. If you got Dunlap and your stomach done lapped over your clothes, cover that thing up, please, for me and all of my friends and family, please, cover it up. We don't want to see that. We don't want to see that. Pastor, put our screen back up on tonight. I want to welcome our guests, and I'm going to let them take their seats and things on tonight. We have, first of all, our own Dr. Will Chambers, who's also producing on tonight. Amen. Yes. And Laura Evans. Laura, you can take, no, I want you on this side. Because we're going to break this up because I don't want to look racial. So I'm going to mix the white person with the black person. So, okay, I need one African American over here, an Afro-American, and a Caucasian over here. Here you go. All righty. Come on, Dr. Jerry. Okay, we're going to come on. Now, see, kids, now y'all can come up one more row. Come on up one more row. Because this is your meeting, and I'm going to be talking, this is for you. This is for you. Come up one more.
I think they do it right there because I'm on.
Okay, y'all look good. Okay, y'all look good.
Stay right there.
How come somebody come and sit on this side?
Go sit on that side.
I tell you what, all y'all come and sit on this side. We're not going to segregate. There's enough stuff going on. We got to just love each other before I have y'all hold hands and say kumbaya. So there we go. And somebody said, okay, there we go. No, too far to the back. They're not going to be there for a minute, so come on, up to the front. There we go. Come on. Listen. Y'all break a camera, y'all parents going to be paying $1,500 for it. All right. Okay. All right, so come up one. Someone come on right to the next one. There you go. There you go. Nice. There we are. Okay. Now, so our special guest on tonight, Dr. Will, if you can put that back up. And we have Laura Evans, Lori is going to be talking to us tonight about suicide and the effect and impact that it has on a family. She lost her son, Reed. We have music and the director of our Voices of Choices community choir, and he's going to be talking about music and the impact that music can have positive. You know, there's an expression that says music can solve a savage beast. Music can have a positive and a negative effect because music is powerful. Online, they're not here. We have Teresia Jackson and Tacoby Jackson. We have their videos, but I'm just going to drop those in later. And then we have Tina Shelley. She's going to be talking, especially for you ladies. Y'all, many of y'all are right in the range. She's going to be talking about dating and the effects of negative dating and domestic violence from that. And then we also have Evangelist Geraldine Galloway. That's going to be talking because you have youth and grandchildren in the program and choices on tonight, and we're going to go from there. Mr. Shepard, will you open us up with the song, please?
I love you, Lord, for your mercy never failed me. Oh, my dear, I've been held in your hand from the moment that I wake up until I lay my head. I will live in the goodness of God. For all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so good. Every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. I love you, Jesus. I worship and adore you. Just wanna tell you, Lord, I love you more than anything. For all my life, you have been faithful. Yes, you have. And all my life, you have been so good. And every breath that I am able, and I will sing of the goodness of God. How many know the Lord take us? I will sing of the goodness of God. Yes, I will sing of the goodness of God.